over there. If we overrun the front page, just flip it over and sign on the rear. And then also for those that are online, if you all too will sign in, so we'll have a record of your participation. We really do appreciate that. So with that, rock and roll with our safety briefing.
Okay. So the location of South Raleigh, physical address is 4211 Global Street. Phone number 919-836-2420. The location of fire alarm extinguishers, front rear. Who's gonna call 911? Everybody.
Lewis.
Who will meet the first responder?
Lewis, you can't do it all. Okay, guess you can. Okay.
And severe weather assembly point is the front entrance, the bathroom entrance right there at the side. And who will lead the evacuation? And then who will ensure all are evacuated? I got you.
Well, anyone else,
So whomever grab that sign-in sheet and.
Sandra. Active shooter protocol, Ryan Hyde fight. And then who will manage time? Brandon Peebles.
Are we 30 for 30?
Location of AEDs by the kitchen, who will retrieve it? And then who's qualified for CPR?
Right to you. Yeah.
I got you.
I think many of us are.
Yeah. Using child. And then the name of the closest medical facility is Wake Med. Address is 3000 New Bern Avenue. Phone number is 919-350-8000. That is all.
All right, everybody got that? You know who our point leaders are and all that good stuff? The weather is beautiful, so hopefully I don't see that we'll have an issue today. As I was coming onto the campus, I did want to tell Enbridge your branding looks very nice, and I like the little. It almost looks like the sun is rising, and so I like all the branding, and it looks very nice. So I know you guys are ready to get through this whole process, right? No, did you say yeah? Yes, yes, so that I can remind myself to say Enbridge instead of Dominion, right? I know at some point all these emails are going to change, and of course that will be another little bit of a logistical nightmare, but we'll get through it, right? We always do. We did the last one, so we'll get through this one. Just want to welcome everybody. I know we are right at the very end of Safe Digging Month. It has been an extremely busy month for NC 811. And so once I leave here, I'm actually headed to Greenville. They are hosting a League of Municipalities conference down there in Greenville. So I look forward to being down there, talking with a lot of those folks, and hopefully try to get some of them coming to these UCC meetings, because I know a lot of the smaller municipalities that we speak with are struggling, keeping up with locates too as well. So my hope is that we can really interact with them and see what kind of concerns they have. So with that, I know Lucas has not made it in, so we'll just kind of rock and roll without him. If you don't mind, just because we do have a fairly good crowd, if we could just kind of introduce ourselves and just say who you're with. And so I'll start over here. Nice to have you. How about the ones on the back first?
Brandon Peebles, Enbridge, North Raleigh.
Jason Jimenez, Enbridge, South Raleigh.
Trevor Green, Damage Prevention Department, Enbridge.
Nice.
Thomas Smith, Enbridge, North Raleigh.
Anthony Jones, Enbridge, South Raleigh.
Kyle Cuddy with Brands Technologies.
Scotty Gordon, Enbridge, Transmission.
Bridget Rivers, North Raleigh, Enbridge.
So I'm Young, Enbridge, North Raleigh. And Johnson, Enbridge, North Carolina, South Raleigh.
Sam.
Tom Taylor, Sam.
Chris Brooks, ITS.
James Shaw, I guess. Gene Bullock, Raleigh Water. Randy Doctor, Raleigh Water locates.
Zach Parsket, Raleigh Water, Code Enforcement.
Aaron Moser with ITS.
Lewis Apex Enbridge.
Chelsea Novelet, Enbridge, April.
Tiffany Eli, Enbridge Gas, Raleigh Transmission.
In the back.
Don
Don.
Crocker, Enbridge, yeah.
It's good to see you, Don. Ann Rushing, North Carolina 811. So for those that are online, please make sure your voice is loud as you're talking so that they can hear you. I do see that we have AJ Perkinson, Dan Baer, Benjamin Reichard, Brian Morehouse, Jamie Flores, Michelle Stevens, and Tammy Groves. All right, appreciate you guys joining online. So what I'm going to do first, if you don't mind, I'm just going to hop into our presentation and kind of go through some items on that, and then we'll do a roundtable and kind of see what all you guys got going on. And I think our top 10 will kind of spark that discussion from there. All right. All right. Okay, so here we are, April. Can you believe Safe Digging Month is almost over with, but things are just now beginning. It has been a crazy, crazy busy month for sure. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so we're almost to the very end of some of our events that we have going on throughout April Safe Digging Month. If you have not played the Dare to Dig contest, open up your phone, put it on that QR code, and it will take you to a link for the Dare to Dig. And we want you to participate because May 1, we're going to be giving away this $300. So I would encourage you to go out, and I'll put this back up after the end of our meeting today while we're eating lunch, and you guys can come over. Please join us to Dare to Dig, and you're basically going to be digging, and until you get an all clear, we're going to educate you, make sure that you know all about Call Before You Dig basics, and then on May 1st, we are going to give away this $300. So you could be the lucky winner. So make sure you're participating. So we had new banners that we created this year, and they match up to our billboards. So you may have already seen those as you're riding throughout the state. We do have 40 billboards throughout the state, and I think we do have a digital one as well. I know as I was coming out of the mountains from our NC 811 board meeting, I saw a couple there. And in fact, I saw some old billboards up as well. I do have a couple banners in my car if you need them. So if you want to take any of those back with you, you'll notice on the right-hand side there's a QR code that lets us know where that banner's at. When you scan that QR code, you enter the information, and that tells us where it's at. And then I can upload that to our website, and that way we can track and see where those banners are. So once again, if you need a banner, let us know. We do have some extra. I can always get Parrish to bring some back this way at the next meeting. All right. I did want to remind everybody we still have some tailgate wraps available. That is a $225 value, free as a grant. So I want to encourage you, if you have a vehicle that is anywhere from where you know that message will stay on from 3 to 5 years, let me know. Would absolutely love to provide you a grant for a free tailgate wrap. So once again here, if you don't let me know, scan it there, and it'll take you to an online form, and we'll reach out to you and coordinate that. As you see, we do have a couple designs. You put your own logo on the left-hand side. We provide all the templates for the vehicles. You have it done, and then we contact that digital group, pay for it, and then you are a rolling billboard for damage prevention. So once again, I can't encourage you enough to participate that. It's not often that we give away money. And so we want to make sure that these tailgates get used. All right, well, we were on a call this morning. Sandra is our treasurer with the state UCC. We do have our joint NCSC UCC conference coming up in Wrightsville Beach. Listen, the whole hotel is booked. We've got about 300 registered, including vendors. We are absolutely cutting this off May 1. So if you have not registered, please do so. The dates are May 14th through the 16th. Unfortunately, there are no more rooms at the hotel, but there's other surrounding. I mean, you could do an Airbnb or a condo, or maybe some other hotels. Down on the bottom here on the NCUCC website, we've got a dedicated area to the conference, and you can click on a link and it'll take you to some other opportunities if you need housing. But otherwise, we do have a great slate of speakers. I'll just give you two. One is we're going to kick it off with an update of the Western North Carolina, what happened and where they're at now. So we've got, I know Dan Bear's on the call today. He will be one of the presenters. We have NCDOT and we have Marcana with Enbridge. So we look forward to that presentation. And then the last presentation of our conference is about drones. So we're going to have a great presentation, and then we're going to go outside and do a little demo. So I would encourage you, if you attend, don't leave early, because we're really going to have some great presentations, and of course there's always great money to be given away and prizes. So speaking of prizes, if you are planning on attending, as always, if you attend, we would certainly appreciate you all bringing a door prize to give away. I know Sandra in the group, they'll be manning the registration table. You can drop those prizes off at the registration table. But we just want to make sure that, once again, that we're giving away as many goodies as possible. So we would highly appreciate if you would bring a door prize with you. So
We have 39 excellent vendors. In fact,
39 vendors.
ICS is one of our vendors
Yes.
this year, and as well as a 2023. So, and the thing is, the vendors are going to be in the open lobby where you come in. And it's a great room in there. I think that everybody's not only going to enjoy the vendors and what they have to say, but also that we've got a great conference this year. I mean, we've never had to set it off and say, we can't accommodate anybody else, but we've done that this time.
It's been great. Golf is full, and well,
The located class
yeah.
is pretty well.
yeah, locator class is pretty well full. If I think Mike could get a couple more in there maybe. So if you're interested in the locator training, of course, that is part of the conference registration, but we do need to have you register for that.
Yeah, that's no problem. Located class, anybody going,
Yes. Great value.
along with your registration.
How many folks are attending the meeting in here, the conference? Only one?
Thanks, raise your hand.
Really? Oh my goodness. Yes, you'll be working the booth. It's going to be absolutely wonderful, and the fact that it's going to be at the beach is going to be even better. So,
Well, I have to say that after many years of being treasurer of the NCDC, this is only my last year. I'm not retiring. I'm not saying I'm not going to continue to work with damage prevention, but I think it's time to let someone pick up those reins and handle the money. I've handled it, I think, since around 2010,
wow.
and I've been attending most of these meetings since 1995.
So Sandra has been a staple. We never even considered that treasurer spot. It had always been Sandra, but I know you're ready to hang up your shoes. So we look forward
So I do
to.
the taxes this year on it. And have that check to the chairperson.
Ah.
What does that account?
I understand. All right. Once again, if you've not signed up, you've got another day or two. All right, so here's some of the upcoming meetings. I did go ahead and change some of those. We had the Underground Review Board last week, and I'll give you an update on that shortly. But our next Locate Resolution Partnership Committee, Dan Baer's on the call too. He does chair that committee. You know, we're still dealing with updates, you know, just an increased amount of updates and have been over the years. We also look at 3 hours and then of course any other issues that are of great concern that we can work on. So I would encourage you, if you've not attended that meeting, you can do that online too with our Teams platform as well. We do host that over at the NCUCC offices, so I would encourage you to attend that. All right, so the Underground Damage Prevention Review Board, we met last week, and also as you see here, June 4th, typically we meet once a quarter. Well, because of the enormous amount of cases that we've received, we've had to put an interim meeting in between that, so on June 4th. When we met last week, we had 81 cases that we heard. Of those 81 cases, 64 of those received Pikes Plus training, and then we issued $38,500 in fines. So that was our second meeting since the beginning of the year. In January, we met, we had 39 cases, 18 Pikes Plus, 17,500 in fines. So altogether, there's been $56,000 issued in fines. Here's a couple things that came out of the meeting that we've noticed. You know, we are receiving a large amount of complaints from our pipeline operators. So, you know, we were made aware of that. Of those complaints, the ones that we're seeing, other than, you know, what Trevor puts in, we're seeing a lot of no locates. So part of our matrix and how the board is set up, we agreed on the matrix. If you are digging around gas and you hit gas, then due to gravity and culpability, you're going to automatically get a $500 fine. Bottom line. That's your first offense. If you get a second, then you're going to get a $1,500, and then it'll go to $2,500, and then $2,500 thereafter. And you basically have a 2 years worth of history. So in order for it to kind of start all over, you got to get off of that list for 2 years. So we did have a good bit of cases that we heard, though they're fairly easy to get through. They are very time consuming. Which I know, Trevor, we actually didn't have as many cases from you this time. So I know, right? So Piedmont Natural Gas just bombarded us. So we'll be seeing that, I'm sure, as well as other pipeline operators. Yes, sir, Trevor.
Could you mention, for the benefit of the group, how important photos play
Absolutely.
when it comes to determining
Yes.
violations?
Those photos are absolutely crucial for us. And here's why, as the review board, if there is any indication that we can't kind of match the complaint up to the photos, then it's going to be dismissed for lack of evidence. Because obviously we're not investigating any of these complaints. It's solely based on what you provide us. So I would encourage you, especially on the photos, if you can get wide shots of photos too as well, not just down on the you know, piece of pipe that was cut, or, you know, we saw ground rods driven through. We even saw a probing rod that had been driven through too as well. Though there's an exemption, you know, on probing for water, you know, for entities. Still want to encourage you, make sure your photos are good. You know, if you can provide us, like, well, I'll just use Trevor, for instance. He's great because you guys have your reports, your on-site reports, and that really helps us because if you're, say you're doing conduit and you're running, you know, in the right of way, the complaint may show a specific address, okay, when you go to do the damage investigation. But when that complaint goes to NC 811, we've asked them to look at that address and anything around it so that we're catching it. But on occasion, we've come back and they've said, no locates, but within, say, your damage report, Trevor, there was a ticket number. So that gives us the ability to say, okay, let's place this on hold, go back to NC 811 and ask for that ticket number to see if that will match up. So once again, that's very important. I would encourage you all, especially your contractors or folks that you come in contact with, hey, grading requires a locate, okay? A lot of the complaints that we saw were graders, that maybe they were grading for sidewalks in neighborhoods or grading for driveways. That was a lot. So if you guys are out in the field, we would so appreciate if you'd be our eyes and ears. And I'm putting my NC 811 hat on this one. You know, let them know it requires a locate. And it just, to be honest with me, it baffles me that they're not doing that, especially in these very, very dense neighborhoods, because I mean, they're stacked on top of each other. So why would you not have a locate? But anyway, that's some of the stuff that we saw out of that. We did have our NC 811 board meeting last Friday too as well. Everything went great there. So I would encourage you, if you ever want to come out and see the State of the Union, I would encourage you. We do have 2 new board members on our board, Andy Brooks with Dominion Energy on the electric side, and then Dirk Tyson with Greenville Utilities. He filled a position. So we do have those new members on the board. Our next one's July 18th over in Asheville. So if you want to come up, cool off, this is the place to go. All right, so let's dig into the numbers, kind of give you an idea of where we ended up in March. March was extremely busy for locate. So, you know, I would say dig season started even earlier this year, which it was the same last year, but in March we had a 21.2% increase compared to the March of last year, 267,000 locates. This photo over here on the left, you'll notice this is our dear friend Mark Worth. We were actually out at the Dixie Deer Classic, and that kind of kicked off, you know, our dig season as well. So a lot of outdoorsmen here in Raleigh, and Enbridge does support that for us. Locate requests year to date. When you look at the percentage year to date, we're at a 8.3%. Compared to the same time last year. So 729,987 tickets that we've received through the end of March. Now let's take a look at our transmissions. So our transmissions were up 20.06% compared to the same time last year. 1.4 million transmissions. So we're still at an average of about 5.4, so 5 to 6 transmissions per ticket. When you look at our year-to-date, we're at almost 4 million there through the end of March, and we've way surpassed that. So 7.8%, you know, increase year-to-date on the transmissions. If any of you follow NASCAR, this is Josh Williams that we support, have over the years. He does run in the Xfinity series, and so if you love NASCAR, love Josh Williams. He's our number 11 car. All right, so let's dig into the numbers. So for March, this was our county ticket volume. Of the volume, we had 32,997 tickets that came through for the month of March. 18,000, a little over 18,000 of those were new tickets, which is a 22% increase compared to last year. Certainly you're seeing the 3-hour tickets go up. And so we, you know, obviously as the volume goes up, the 3 hours go up, the updates go up. And we look at an average locate per day, 1,650. So you guys are kind of, back and forth with MEC. They're pretty much about the same. And we know it's going to continue to stay this. Once again, we can't encourage you enough, with the contractors to have pre-cons, have meetings along the way. That's what's going to make this system work. Because obviously we can't keep up with the amount of work, but we got to do it through communication. So let us know if there's anybody you want us to work with to help to, communicate with you all. Year to date, slightly up 8%, 89,396 tickets. So already 50,000 tickets come through wait from January to March. New volume 4.9, but we continue to see an increase in the 3-hour 20.1 and 9.5 on the updates. So that's good to see on the updates. So where's the bulk of the work coming from? Well, obviously the bulk of it's here in Raleigh, 13,199. We also see that Apex has a good bit of work going on. Cary, Holly Springs, Knightdale, Wake Forest, Wendell. Yeah, so busy. Well, now when we break it down to our top 10, we can see where the bulk of those tickets are coming from. So ITS, you guys were rocking and rolling at place number 1, 2,317 tickets you put in. And I know you guys are doing, work from a multitude of folks. Prince Telecom, I assume they're still working for Google exclusively in this area. AT&T Utility Operations, the drops, RG Communications. Let's see, they work for Spectrum, right? Charter Spectrum. Moztec, Phoenix Fiber, Tremors, Ansco, Custom Plus, and Pike. So you kind of see the top 10. Any questions on those? Any concerns you guys want to talk about while we're here? Are you having issues or concerns that, we politely want to discuss? We're all good? Awesome. Well, let's talk about damages. So where we landed for the month was 1,298 damages. Of those, 192 were reported in Wake. And, I was talking to Lewis the other day after we had the damage prevention or the underground review board meeting. One of the things I noticed about all these complaints that were placed, other than maybe 2, there were no damage tickets reported after anything was hit. So that tells me that people, once again, and I'm talking a lot, are not reporting damages. So just want to, throw that out. If you see folks damaging your facilities, make sure they're also reporting a damage as well. What we're also seeing is after the damage, they at least are going back and calling in tickets. So that's a good sign too. And hopefully that's some great education and we won't see them back in front of the review board again. Mecklenburg 174, they were slightly below you guys, but I feel confident they're well over that as well as you guys are too. Any questions on this? All right, so obviously the pipeline operators, you guys look at damages per 1,000 transmissions. And so we've got it color coded, green, yellow, red. Just because it's red doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just, just some of these smaller counties, they tend to have a lower amount of transmissions. So you can have, a slight amount of damages and it will make that ratio look larger. So once again, we provide you those and you can see Wake is kind of in the middle there with the damage per 1,000 ratio. And we do have all this data on the back end. If anytime you guys want any of this, just let us know. We can dig more into it and provide that to you. Well, we were kind of trending down and now we're going back up. So in January, we're a little up compared to the same time last year. In February, we only had 925 reported damages. And then we went pretty big from 941 to 1298. So, you know, our goal is hopefully to continue that downward trend. But once again, we do want those damages reported because we do want to, you know the root cause. Once again, here's our team. We do have our newest still, Rory, out in the western part of the state. He does work with a lot of the Enbridge people out that way. And then hopefully Paris should be back tomorrow. So if you guys need anything from him, please let us know. Otherwise, that concludes my presentation. So let's do this. I guess we'll just start over here and let's talk about any projects you have, and let's go ahead and talk about damages or concerns, and we'll just do it that way if that's okay. You don't have anything. Wow. He's pushing it up the food chain. Who's got the dirt on all that's going on? There you go.
There's a lot of projects coming up, a lot going on right now in North Raleigh's area. It's slowed down for a little bit, but now it's kind of ramping back up. Damages, I don't really deal with too much of the damage side. Our contractors do a good job of kind of mitigating some of that, but the gas company guys do a good job of mitigating that. But I think the only problem I see is like when there is a damage. So we had this happen a while back and actually called Trevor about it. There was a damage. They nicked the power.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't cut into it, but they just wanted to report it because the sheeting was messed up.
Perfect.
And when the guy came out to do his pictures, when he took his marker and he took his measure tape out, he put it the wrong way. So if the marker's here, the marker's here. And I said something to him about, I said, why are you taking the picture like that? He said, this is how we got to do it. I said, this is not how you take the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I mean, just if someone makes the initiative to report something, I guess just from USIC, honesty would be great. Don't try to twist the picture and make it look like it's something it's not, and try to charge a company they shouldn't be charged. But other than that, the response time has been pretty decent. I'm sure, Chris and James probably, but it's a lot of work going on. Got a lot coming.
So when you were talking about projects, are these projects you guys, or are you just talking about all the? Okay. Are you able to share some of that, just to kind of give some folks? I'm sorry?
That's a big project. We have to move inline and distribution. I've got subdivisions where we're having to run. We've got Rogers Road, which is relocating about probably 2,500 foot of acreage.
Okay.
Moving some 2-inch steel and moving some 2-inch plastic.
Wow.
Some other smaller projects, but I probably have about 4 more small ones where we're moving some 2-inch stuff.
Any of these require any coordination with some of the other utilities? Do you need some help, or?
With Rogers Road, we're working with the DOT.
Okay.
We're working with the town of Wake Forest. We're working with Crown Castle.
Crown Castle, okay.
I think they've got some of their stuff in. But other than that, and then Millbrook Road is going to require, we're still kind of beginning phase of that. So that's for the DOT as well.
Okay. And you guys are okay getting your contacts and all that? Okay. Perfect. Yay. Good deal. All right. You good? All right, Thomas.
The only thing I have is get a lot of calls sometimes from contractors and utilities. Stuff not located, stuff not located. So all I ask is follow the protocols, call 3-hour ticket in first. Make sure you call it in properly. Don't call it in as a remit or a short notice or
Retransmit.
destroyed marks.
Destroyed
Call it in as a 3-hour rush, that gets prioritized. And I understand that's gonna delay you probably half a day or a day or so, but, just let's follow the process, and then if still you're in need, then reach out and we'll get someone out there. So, other than that, that's all I got.
So here in Wake County, April's looking better for damages as far as at least to gas infrastructure. In March, we had 25 damages. So far, we're at 17 for April. So that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Our contract locator company, Southern Cross, has hired a lot more techs, so they're really staffed up. So we feel like we know that empirically they're doing a much better job of getting the tickets on time. And just internally, a focus that we have had is on when we locate, minimizing operator error on our part as far as mislocated items. That's something that is being highlighted in each office. So we hope to improve the quality of what we're providing for excavators, and hopefully have less damages this year than last.
That's our goal, our mission.
I've got a project, fairgrounds, Hillsborough Street, Borough Road. Trying to get Lane to realize that they shouldn't be digging around high pressure without nobody being under it.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Lane
Construction. Okay. I'm sure Trevor will help you.
Yeah. And another project, Lakewood Road, they're doing all the poles, high pressure gas again. So, but other than that, they're using the back truck like they're supposed to be doing.
Good deal. Nothing for you. Good. You guys don't have anything to do? No problems? Wow.
I've had my say, I think.
Sandra needs another vacation.
Well, I got one coming up.
I knew that was coming. Nothing for you guys with Sam? Yeah.
Did Jerry leave?
Let's go on the phone.
Oh, okay, because he was going, I thought he was going to say, he went with you. When he
Okay.
comes back in, we'll ask.
All right, how about ITS?
It's got a lot of stuff from the first couple months with the weather, the permitting and all that stuff has been slow. If everything comes the way they say it's coming, it's going to be it's going to be busy the next little bit. But so that's we're looking forward to that. We like staying busy.
I don't know.
Nothing for Raleigh?
I don't have anything.
Y'all got to have
I've
something.
got something.
I know you do.
I don't know. Is that all right? Yeah, okay. So, with damages, y'all, maybe this is because I come from the sewer background, but like y'all, we're talking about damages, but like we're not talking about if it's marked or unmarked or if it's visible or not visible. Like those breakdowns, because just damaging something, that doesn't mean that somebody, they could have caught hold, called in a locate and everything else, and it just an accident versus a no ticket. You know what I mean? There's like a whole range of responsibility between those two.
Well, a damage is a damage. Doesn't matter.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah.
What if the contractor did do everything they could? You know what I mean? I've seen them where they drilled, they potholed, they go past it, they're coming back and the machine just barely snags something.
Yeah.
And
So that's just, once again, a best practice. So once that damage gets reported, we're going to drill down and ask you the root
that's what I'm
cause.
asking, is that in there?
Yes,
that also
it is.
Available, that data?
Yes.
'Cause you said
But
that
now-
on the back end, right?
Damages are only done through calling. Okay. So you can only call damages in. And they're going to ask you, what happened, and then they're going to drill down and find that root cause. So the reason now that we have more detailed, because we want the quality of that data to be good. And so I'll give you a good example. So at the end of the month, I will go so all this data gets uploaded to CGA, which is Common Ground Alliance, the DIRT. And I go pull a report specifically for everything that was reported, because once we take your damage, we upload it. So we consider that NC 811 data. And then there's other data, like some other companies may report quarterly. So we can download all of that information, and then I've got it in a pivot table, and I can see here in Wake County, you know, you were doing telecommunication work. The facility that was hit the most was telecommunication, and the root cause was a shovel. I mean, I can drill it down. If you provide good data, I can drill it down and I can provide you that data.
So I guess, like, for us, like with the sewer's not required to be located if it's before 2013.
Right.
And if there's no visible clean out, you know, a lot of times those are damages, but they're not considered an actionable damage from us because nobody would have known where it was, you know. So that's what I'm kind of getting, like, how many of those damages are in there that are just...
Damage is damage.
Okay.
We still want to know any facility, underground facility, public. We want to know. We want that because you don't have to tie a damage to a ticket. If you have a locate ticket or you're aware of it, you're to kind of connect them together. That way we can drill down and we can say, we know that on this particular ticket, they did a 3-hour and there was a damage. So now we can drill down even deeper and kind of determine, you know, is the damage happening more so when a 3-hour ticket's called in, you know, and try to see some trends. But a damage is a damage, any damage. So you can report it.
Calls that in, that other data, it's important to get all the rest of it, right? So not just call it in, say damage, and then be done.
Correct. We do have a form on our website I can provide you of all the information that should be collected. But, you know, once again, the law says if you damage, you're to report it. So we want that contractor or whomever's, you know, doing the damage, but we'll still take any damage. So if say Enbridge, you guys come across and somebody's hit your line, but then they're gone and you find it down the road that they damaged your facility, then you can report it. So we'll take all damages. And then we're going to ask you, do you have an associated ticket with it? And if you do, we're going to merge those two together. And if you don't, we're going to take it and you'll get it'll have a separate number, obviously, but it just won't be connected to those locate tickets.
That's very...
Yes.
I don't know how you can get people to call it damage tickets anymore. Relay that information back to the utility that's damaged. So we cut a power line, we call 811, report damage, then somebody from there take it to because we have to contact AT&T, we have to contact the utility owner.
Well, it's twofold. But we actually do, if we have an associated ticket with it, then that damage ticket is going to get transmitted out to those other utilities.
They don't locate their own facilities. So the locate
Correct.
ticket is going to go to USIC, which does not work directly for the utility.
So
for us, it works because we
right.
locate our own stuff. So we'll get that. But everyone else, they don't locate their own stuff.
I'll have to go back and ask because some tickets don't necessarily go directly to the locator. I mean, obviously survey and design, that's a good example. But a damage ticket, I would have to check to see. Okay. But it may be transmitted somewhere differently. They may not want that damage ticket to go to their locator. They want that to go in-house. You see what I'm saying? Their technician or something. I would just have to follow up. Each member could be a little different. So that's part of the information that we asked them, but that's a good one. I'll find out on that. I see where you're going with it. All right.
I was just going to mention it, and I don't know if this is part of kind of the information you're after, but at least here at the gas company, year to year, it's pretty consistent. Less than 25% of the damages we sustain to our system are as a result of locator error. 75% is excavated. I don't know if that's
That's
along
part
the
of
lines
what
of
I
what you're
was-
looking at, but
Yeah.
for the gas company, I can't speak for, other utilities, because that'll likely be different. But that's what it is for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it with us as well. Like, we have a bunch of calls that we can go after because of that. So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, if we all just say it's all damages, then you're really not tracking the most accurate, like, what's a damage that we can have, that we should have known about? I mean, like you said, the 75%, that's very helpful. And then it's like 25%, we need to get better and look at it, right?
And that's,
And in going back to Trevor's point, once it's reported, they may report it as a locator error. But once all that gets fleshed out, it may not be. So I would just say, once again, you have to take the end data with a grain of salt until,
And that's what I'm seeing, like, I'm
Investigate.
seeing the numbers, I'm just questioning, like, is there a follow-up? Is there ever a, like, okay, this damage goes into this, could have been prevented damage versus a damage that,
So
Yeah.
part of, well, I mean, I'll just go back to the Locate Resolution Partnership, just with updates. Our whole goal there is to reduce that trend, try to, why are you updating? And so what we determined was the bulk of all the updates were coming from the contractors that work for the members. So we determined that. And then from there, we started asking questions. Why is it that you're updating 2 or more times when you say the work was only going to take 1 day or less? So now that's where we're digging down into that data and try to answer that question. So if you have a question, we can dig into that data and find out. And so is it due to processes? Is it due to, that someone in the office is just every Monday updating tickets? So we try to figure out what the root cause is, and kind of back to the damages. We can dig down into it and try to figure out the root cause.
it's kind of like accidents. If accidents go up and you just keep saying, well, we got to stop accidents, and you got.
But you got to know the root cause.
Preventable, or like, you got to think about those type of, like, can we prevent it? That's what we really need. Preventable damages, we need to get those down.
Absolutely. Good points. All right. Hello, Mr. Lewis. Okay.
Don't have anything.
Nothing for you guys? Awesome. Don, how about you in the back?
So we already mentioned North Raleigh, got a lot going on. South Raleigh, project that comes by, BRT project, still working on that. Years. We're working on the route going from downtown east, New Bern Avenue. Doing our rerouting lanes and off sections and stuff like that. And I guess that's the first phase. Next phase is gonna be going from downtown south. So not sure when that's gonna come. This is an ongoing project. So, and then we also got 1010 Road that I recall.
Yeah.
We're waiting on where railroad board schedule there. James, is that you got to do that?
I'm not sure on that one. I think it's, that's the, this is, he's talking gas.
All right, and, what else is there? And there's a lot more on South Raleigh. Still, there's a lot more Raleigh, a lot of projects going on, a lot smaller ones. And I wanted to mention too, on a different note, we had a damage in North Raleigh a week or so ago. And it was, we had the service crew went out to 7 meter, and there was no gas in the service. It turns out the service was cut somewhere underground. Tom, you might be able to add to this map and I'll fix it. But it appeared to be a cable contractor pulled through. Did he ever find the cut, Tommy, and verify where it was?
I think it was on the concrete we ended up flooring.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a service line that got damaged, it was a new service, and it had an excess blow valve, so doesn't flow
Yep.
that hard, doesn't sink up the area, so they just covered it up. They may not have known they hit it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm assuming they didn't know they hit it, you know. It's kind of odd, but if, you know, it sounds to me like they didn't spot it, or maybe it wasn't marked.
Did you say it was under concrete? Yeah. Absolutely.
How long it's got, and it's shut off, and but they still bleed through, so.
Absolutely.
Like it migrated through. And that being said, you know, how does the LDF trigger that to be reported as damage for our reporting? Or how does that get reported as a damage that needs to be reported?
If you guys find it later, you can report it. So,
So, I mean, who does our reporting?
Reporting to 811?
Yeah.
Well, that is supposed to happen, like, so if any of our people damage somebody else's underground utility, all of our crews are trained, they're supposed to call 811 and report that damage. When it comes to our infrastructure, which, if I'm understanding, I'm not really familiar with the case you're talking about, but it sounds like it was a new service that was installed and it got damaged before we set a meter. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have to look at the LDF, but there should have been an LDF generated.
Right, yeah.
And so it should, as far as reporting that to who are you asking?
Well, it doesn't.
you can still report that to, if.
Yeah, no.
So it should have been obviously the contractor, but if, like you said, the contractor didn't realize they did it, then you can still report that damage afterward.
We don't have a mechanism to report to 811 like historic damages. Because that's what you're talking about. We don't know when it happened. Well, if it's a new service, it's probably recent, so that's different than, like, say, we respond to an odor and the line was hit, who knows, in the last year and a half to 2 years, 3 years, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, we don't,
I mean, you provide the best data you can to us, but the more you can report those damages, the more we can, have good, accurate data to analyze. So, and I think that kind of goes back to the review board, like all these cases that were reported, there never was a damage ticket afterwards. So, so if you're on site or go out while the damage occurs, remind the contractor it is their obligation to report that damage. And then anything after you come upon, you can still report it. And we'll take the information that you know. So, the best of your ability. Yeah. So, do you have something else?
Yeah, I was going to say, we kind of started out this meeting, you talked about the court cases or whatever it is, the damages and stuff like that.
Complaints.
And you talked about the importance of good pictures and getting broad, good information. When Brandon mentioned about how other things are taken care of, how people take pictures and stuff like that, how important it is to document your own stuff the right way.
Absolutely.
Because we've had a whole lot of cases where, the damages are there, and like I said, the pictures come up and they can make them look any way they want to. I mean, I had a case where we had fibers on both sides, like 10 foot, and digging in the middle. And of course, we hit a fiber in the middle, and they were pulled a string from the fiber on one line and to the other one, even though they were running like parallel. But that's how they took the picture. Trying to say, well, this mark connects to this mark, and there was absolutely nothing in the center. We were digging down the center. So everybody tries to take the pictures the way that they want to, and these the damage, the people come out and do the damages, to report them and document them. They're just to get out of, trying to find a way to make you pay. And sometimes they're not the most honest people.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful of that. So just cover yourself.
So as we say, be able to tell your story. It really does help. But at the end of the day, as far as the review board, we can only review what we have. I know we've had homeowners making complaints, and they'll make a complaint, but then there's no documentation. So we can't take their word for it. There has to be, and then most of the time, even with homeowners, they're complaining because they're putting in fiber and they've lost their internet. But that ticket would never be to their home. It's going to be, a right-of-way ticket probably within those areas. So,
I
yes.
want to say too, pictures or even video beforehand
Yes.
is helpful, especially with I'm sure gas is similar, but with water, you hit it, sometimes the roads will crumble. So our guys get there to repair it, and they take pictures of what they can. But the before pictures and the locates have got better about that with us, but even I know some fiber guys will take videos of everything and they'll take still shots out of that video to show us what the locates look like, because sometimes we don't know. We're recreating something that is missing by the time we even get there. So to go back to what you were saying.
Anybody else? All right, so those that are online, AJ, anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you for joining. Benjamin?
I don't have anything at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Morehouse? He dropped. Okay. He stated, great meeting. Thank you so much for having these meetings on Teams. If there's any issues that need to be addressed with SNN, please reach out to Brian and he'll get you some help and put you in touch with the manager in your region. And I think in this area is Brightspeed. I know they also locate for Ripple too, kind of out east. Jamie?
Not for me right now.
Okay, thank you. How about Michelle?
Nothing today, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And Miss Tammy Groves, anything for you?
Heck yeah, I've got all kinds of problems, but a UCC isn't one of them. Thank you.
Sounds great. So Tammy's probably going to take what she heard today back to the Mecklenburg meeting tomorrow. And I think you want me to tell her that Wake is better than Mech, right? Right? That's usually how you guys fight back and forth. So.
Sure, I saw the damages this month.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else for the greater good? So, we want to thank Kyle today, Kyle Cuddy, for your company providing lunch. And I think it is here, right, and ready. So anything else for you folks online? Otherwise, I'll hang up with you all, and we're going to have lunch here. And